Hey everybody, welcome to episode 52 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with Jimmy Diresta.
Wait, we're on 52? I thought 51,
No, that was last week.
Oh wow, goes quick. Yes, hello everybody.
And David Picciuto.
Hey!
What's going on?
I'm just hanging out.
Cool. You guys have a good Christmas?
Chill week, really chill, yeah. I haven't done much. Just hanging out in the upstate crib, playing in my what I've been calling my machine shop now. That's been fun. Relax.
Making snow angels?
No, well, today, whatever today is the 29th. Today it snowed, but previous to this, the last few days have been, anywhere between 70 and 40 degrees up here, which is totally unseasonable.
Yeah, making snowmen out of mud. Mudmen.
My whole yard is like one big muddy mess. Like I don't like taking my shoes off to come into my own house, but I have to because there's no excuses for the mud tracks I'll leave. It's been crazy, but now everything's iced over for at least a few minutes. Yeah.
David, you got snow?
No snow. We, like Jimmy, we had a very warm Christmas, and then a day later, maybe 2 days later, we had a small ice storm, but then it melted within a couple hours.
It's been in the 80s and 70s here.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you brag about it some?
No, well, it's not really. I mean, it's nice, I guess, but it's also just damp.
Complain
It's
about it.
Everything feels gross because it's like hot and damp here, and so anyway.
Complain some more. Would you say 80?
Yeah, that's real gross,
now.
Bob. Real gross.
Okay, but it's gonna get cold next week. It's gonna get down into the 60s.
Ooh,
wow.
Yeah.
I wish it was the 60s here.
Yeah. So no, I'm not complaining, but it is unseasonable.
Yeah,
like you guys, but in a grosser way. I would rather it be like, in a nice, comfortable, but here it's that comfortable temperature, but just really humid. And so any area like around our house that doesn't have direct sunlight just feels like it's going to mildew. Like the outside is going to mildew all of a sudden, because it's just so damp. But anyway, so
spray some Lysol on it. You'll be all right.
just the entire yard. Yeah.
Comes in an industrial can. Big one.
Great things for grass.
The big long ones. Those long cans that you see sometimes in a public restroom? They're like 20-inch long cans. Get one of those.
Okay. I'll do that. So you're not doing anything, or what are you working on? You said you're not doing anything, but you're working in your machine shop.
Yeah. I came up here with a couple of projects. I still have to do my core video, which I'm going to have ready for Wednesday, I hope, next week, because I actually picked somewhat simple project. So I'm going to do that back in the city. But up here, I brainstormed up a project with a friend, and it's something that he actually would want. So I'm making a knife, and it's going to be a fun knife. I don't want to say exactly what it is for, because my friend wants to kind of do like a PR rollout, because it's going to be for him. And it's a complicated knife that I did not design, but I am interpreting it, because as of now, it is only a drawing. It's not really a real knife that ever existed anywhere in movies or TV. So it's just like a fantasy thing. It's kind of like what the All Me channel does, how people call in and say, oh, make the knife from Zelda or whatever. And so I'm kind of doing that. It's like my own version of like the All Me knife guy. And it's been a lot of fun. It's challenging because I'm making the handle and the hilt right now, and I'm going to start working on the blade today after we talk. But the handle and the hilt is just like literally cut out of like two giant chunks of steel, and then shaped in the way of the image that I'm inspired by. But shaping it is definitely been a learning experience. I've tried a couple different things, and what's funny is it always gets back down to the bandsaw. I mean, for me, it's the easiest thing. Just go to the bandsaw, but the metal I'm cutting is literally 2 inches thick. So it's 2 inches thick of solid steel, and so it's really slow bandsaw cuts. So I just put on music, sit back, put the camera on for a couple of minutes at a time, not literally filming all that because it's just too boring. And then I got a chance to use my milling machine, which is really cool, which I don't get a lot of practice with. And so I've been working with that. So that's been a lot of fun. And just figuring it out as I go, and learning new things as I go.
I got a question about that cutting. So if you're cutting something that thick on a bandsaw, is it just a feel? You can feel how quickly you need to be pushing it through, or is there some sort of a process?
Like anything where there's going to be like a lot of heat generated, you need to make sure the blade that you're using doesn't get past the critical temperature, past its hardening, and then all of a sudden it just will instantly go dull. So you ever using like a router and then it gets super smoky and then the router bit doesn't work anymore. it doesn't work well. Or if you're using a table saw, if you cut through something and then all of a sudden the blade just doesn't work anymore. You've gotten it past its critical temperature and now it's hardening goes. So with a bandsaw, you just want to keep cutting slow, keep the cut oiled when you're cutting metal. And if you're cutting fast, say for instance you have like a regular wood bandsaw and you just stick a piece of metal in it. I cut sheet metal on mine, but obviously sheet metal is much thinner. But if you're cutting anything like past a 1/4 inch on a wood cutting bandsaw and you don't slow the blade down, your blade's going to overheat too quick and it's just going to go dull instantly. And that's when you see everything kind of turn blue and dark. And then the edges of your teeth are just all mushed off because it's gotten past its melting point, or its hardening point, I should say. So that's it. You just want to cut slow and steady. And I always say, as long as you're making debris is coming out of the other side of the blade, then it's cutting. So while I was cutting this stuff, I was making sure that the debris coming out of the other side of the cut, falling on the floor and in my feet, was looking the same and staying the same and coming out the same consistency. I obviously couldn't push very quickly. I just had to like kind of go as it was cutting. And like I said, it was kind of more of a meditative cut. I was just like, okay, within a few minutes, I'm going to be about a 1/2 inch away from where I am now. So just keep going slow and steady. And yeah, like I said, just keep an eye on the sawdust you're making or the metal dust you're making and making sure it stays looking the same. That's also another thing I learned using the milling machine because, I have a tendency to feed too fast, spin too fast, and will overheat your end mill and immediately it turns blue and then it stops working. And so this particular time around, I learned to slow everything down considerably. I have a power feed, so slow the power feed down, slow the cutting head down, everything, and then the shavings that come out of it look like shavings. They don't just look like little granules. When they're granules, half of it's from the cutting head and half of it's from the material you're trying to remove. So,
okay, I got another question. Yeah. Continuing that.
Yeah.
This is all new to me. So if you see the color changing on a bit or a blade or any of that stuff, if you can see the color change in any amount, is that too late? Or is that an indicator?
It might be, yeah. No, because all of a sudden you're like, ooh, wow, this whole room's full of smoke. I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And then your outer bit is like all blackened on the end. And then your cut is also all burnt. And then it's time to put a new bit on there. So most of it.
I didn't know if like the color change would be like, okay, now I better slow down. Or if it's like when you see it, it's
sometimes it all depends. Like if you're using there was actually someone sent me a really interesting video on high speed steel, like versus more like carbide bits. And if you're sharpening high speed steel, which are the typical, like the old-fashioned cutting heads on most lathes, it turns blue. It's still hard because it has a much higher temperature, threshold. So, but for instance, I noticed this as a kid. I learned this the hard way as a kid. When I was using router bits, and if I use like a big 1/2 inch router bit, I have a lot more stability cutting. If I use a small bit, I mean, obviously you have more stability, but what I meant to say is you have less burn on the bit. But when the bit is small, like 1/8 of an inch, it's going to get hot really quick because that there's nowhere for the heat to sink. If you have a fatter bit, it's heat sinking and sucking the heat in and moving up the shaft. If you have a little tiny 1/8 inch router bit, you're going to burn it quick if you're not careful with it because it soaks the heat up and just overheats and then all of a sudden it becomes dull. So as a kid, I had like a little router bit drawer and I would go in the router bit drawer and all the Smil router bits were like black and blue. And they didn't it gets so hot that even the carbide tip would be gone because the carbide tip is like welded or fastened to like the regular metal and then the joint between them becomes overheated. And so you have like a router bit and half the carbide edge is like broken off. And I'm like, oh, there's still one on the other side. So at least I'll get a flat bottom cut, so I just dig into it. But, that happened when I was a kid. But, every once in a while when I'm desperate and I'm making something at, midnight and there's no store open and I find like a little tiny bit and half of the blade's gone. I'm like, all right, I guess this will do. But yeah, you just can't overheat anything. It's just once you overheat it, it just dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's my overheating learning experience this week. That was what Santa brought me.
I'm not ready to talk about any project videos yet. By the time you hear this, it's still going to be another week before anybody sees a project video. But I've been kind of piecing my shop back together, rearranging the lighting, still working on the new basement rooms, which I'll be doing that over the next couple months. I started to write kind of like a script for the video and photography equipment I use. So that's probably going to be a quick video that I'm going to put out maybe the next week. And yeah, that's it. Just slowly putting my shop together.
Does it seem quite a bit different now that you have it, as you're putting it back together?
Yeah, well, the all the new space that I gained in the shop is being used as temporary storage right now while we finish the laundry room and the band room. So I haven't gained any space. So everything still feels kind of hopeful.
Nice.
Yeah, so I can see that it's going to feel a lot nicer and everything. The holidays got in the way, not got in the way, but the holidays kind of interrupted the process, and the making rooms took way longer than I ever thought. But I got a lot of video plans in my mind, and I think I'm going to really step up my game in the next couple months here.
Nice. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, the holidays definitely kind of slow things down in a good way, get in the way in the best way possible. So yeah, I haven't done a whole lot this week either. I released the third part and the final part of my Arduino coding video today, and somebody left a really funny comment saying that they were picturing Jimmy's facial expression while they were watching it, like what he would be doing while he watched the video.
All I would be doing is going, damn, I wish I dug into this more often and learned more about it faster.
Now you can watch those videos, and
I absolutely will. I mean, that's one of the things that when we talk about going and looking forward, it's trying to come up with an Arduino 3D printing project, which I've had a hard time coming up with. And I have a couple of really loose ideas, but it's going to be one of the things we talk about in a few minutes.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, I put that final one of those out today. And it's really interesting, the comments I get on videos like that. Like back to back, two comments stacked on top of each other. One of them is like, I'm so glad to see you doing, this new type of thing. This is really helping expand into new people's interests. And, I love the diversity. And then the one right below, it's like, I sure wish you would do more woodworking.
Did you see the tweet I put out the other day? I put a tweet out just maybe yesterday morning, where on one of my old hammer videos where I modified an S-wing hammer, someone says this is like stupid and dumb, like literally within like a half hour of each other. And then the other person underneath it says, oh my God, you've gotten me out of my 5-year funk. My dad worked at S-wing hammer, and seeing you use these tools, brings back good memories of my dad who died in a car crash.
Oh.
So it's like, here I'm like, one person is completely fulfilled and, in a good, positive way, getting over some trauma. And the other guy's like, this is stupid. You're an idiot. So I tweeted, you can't please everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Over the past 2 weeks, I got 2 comments that were basically the same thing. It's one of my older videos, and I have an I like to make stuff sticker on my bandsaw. And the first comment was, why do you have Bob's sticker on your bandsaw? And I just replied with, I like that dude. And the guy goes, oh, me too. And then just yesterday, I got another one, and it says, great video, but why is there an I like to make stuff sticker on your bandsaw? And I was like, I like that dude, and we do a podcast together. Here's a link. And he's like, oh, awesome. So, but since then, there are no stickers on my bandsaw. I am not promoting anybody.
He cleaned it?
But myself.
There's no. David doesn't like me anymore.
You started it, Dave. It was all your fault now. And then now, right on the prominent front top of my one of my 2 bandsaws is your stickers from one of the very first ones I put on it. Now the sticker, it looks like the bottom of a skateboard. It's covered in stickers.
Well, see, when I was doing the weekly show, people would send me stickers, and I would just cover my bandsaw with it. And then people were just trying to get on the show, I think, and were like printing off like stickers on their inkjet printer, and so it was just kind of getting covered with a lot of stickers. And I said, you know what? Nobody gets to be on the bandsaw anymore. So I took everything off, even took the Grizzly logo off. It's just a tan colored bandsaw. And actually, a couple days ago, I ordered some glitter stickers, like unicorns and rainbows.
Oh, no.
And they're all going to go on the bandsaw just for that. What the crap is going on here?
That's awesome.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I will specially make a glittery I like to make stuff sticker if you'll put it on.
If you do, I will put it front and center.
If you take my stencil and use spray glue instead of paint, and then throw the glitter at it, the letter. just a quick tip. Just a quick tip. Yeah. Or if you do what Greg's Garage did and put a little glue on the back of each one of the pop outs, and then and then gently pull the stencil off, all the letters will stay in place.
Nice.
Just a tip.
Cool.
So, yeah, I just crapped on half our audience, didn't I?
No.
Yeah. I love all you guys.
Absolutely.
Just everybody's walking back from the mailbox now with their letter in their hands and their head droop.
Guess I won't send him a sticker after all.
You can send it to me. I'll put them all over the. I'm gonna start. It's gonna be like like an old town like Israel where there's like cities built on top of cities. Eventually, I'm gonna run out of spaces and just start putting stickers on top of stickers. So I'm sorry for who gets that first.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, it has to happen.
Yeah.
There's only so much space.
But it'll be growing with like the audience and the people and YouTube and so on and so on.
Yeah, it's kind of like layers of paint on a wall. You can peel them back to see who was there first.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man, you should see the wallpaper in our bathroom. We're taking down part of the bathroom, and there's like a layer of blue paint, and then there's a layer of pink paint, and then there are 2 layers of wallpaper below that, and they are hideous. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we've had that same thing. I had to take down wallpaper in one of our bathrooms. It ran into the same thing. The thing that blew me away was that the trim at some point in my house was teal. Who paints baseboard teal in a house?
That's the South for you. Sorry.
I mean, it's the 60s. It was built in the
rest of our audience.
Yeah, thanks. Dropping like flies.
I'm just kidding. I try to think of something funny to say that came out first. My house is 100, whatever. My house is like a couple hundred years old. The house I'm sitting in now, in upstate, and there are certain parts of it which are the original house, which are as old as everything, and there is literally like 6 or 8 layers of wallpaper in some of the rooms. And you peel, and once in a while, because of like, we let the house go cold in the winter, so that really lets all the glue go and hold heat, cold heat. And so and every once in a while, there'll be a big bubble on the wall, and we just peel it back, and it goes back to like roses, like silk screen from like whatever, 1920. And then we peel as much as we can, and we have like a big like tear out circle on the wall of like that color wallpaper, and we leave it. So when you go into some of the rooms, there's like big pieces of wallpaper showing through the white paint. We leave it whenever we can. So
nice.
It looks sufficiently haunted. And then all the paint is like peeling because the guy that owned it before me constantly painted it. And so there's like thick layers of paint that are like now what's happening again, it has to do with like letting the house go cold and warm. So the house is experiencing all these severe temperature extremes, and it makes the paint peel. So the outside of the house is peeling the inside. So when we just like every once in a while take a trowel and just scrape all the paint peelings that are coming off of the walls and the ceiling. And I said to tell as long as it keeps looking cool, I'm cool with it. So
yeah,
as long as you're okay with lead paint.
Yeah. We put it on crackers and we eat it. It's good. No, most of the paint that John, the previous owner, did was all water-based, of course. But in some cases, it is
was I just
back.
trolling you?
Yeah.
Sorry
in some
about
cases, no. In some cases, it does peel back to the old paint. And I've had tenants come here and they go, "Is this house have lead paint in it?" I'm like, "Let's see. It was built in 1795."
Was it really?
And probably there's probably lead paint in it. I said, "Just you and your kids just don't eat any of the paint chips." And I think it's good.
Rule number 1 of the house: don't eat the walls.
Yeah, don't.
That should be rule number 1 of every house.
Oh, that's true.
Well,
rule
actually,
number 2: don't eat crackers that Jimmy gives you.
I want to make this into Willy Wonka's house where you can lick the wallpaper. Yeah, but right over the lead paint.
Maybe that's why my kids lick the walls. That movie.
Yeah.
Is your house really built in 17? Would you say?
Yeah, 1790s. There's like one main square, and then there's 2 offshoots off of the square. And the main house is 1790s. Yeah, and
wow.
The basement is all flagstones stacked up. The floor of the basement is just like big flagstones with like wooden. You know, the one of the crazy things, and one of these days I'll do like a little video tour of the house. The house is so old, but like when you poke your head up through the attic and you look, you could see most of the roof was built out of a recycled from another house, which is weird because the people that owned it here before me, the woman who died recently lived across the street. She grew up here as a little kid from like the 1930s. She died in her 80s. Anyway, I got to meet her a couple times early on. Anyway, she said, I said, was the house ever was the roof majorly changed? She's like, not while we were there. So that means like in the last nearly 100 years, the roof has been the same. But when you look up inside the attic and you look inside the roof, you see like there's no ridge beam, which is like an old telltale sign of construction. It's just rafters that come together with no ridge beam down the middle. And so where the rafters are all coming together, some of the things are just a hand cut at a 45-degree angle, and some of the sides of the joint are just old burnt wood, and some of them are clean new wood. So which leads me to believe that most of the wood or some of the wood in the roof of my house was recovered from a house that burned more than 100 years ago. So the roof was probably rebuilt at one point, with recycled wood from another house. And then the floorboards, when one of the houses is like a parlor left and right. And when you're in the basement and you look up underneath the floor of the parlor, it's all painted wood that was pulled out of another house and rearranged. So where there was paint on the wood and where there was like joists or whatever, there's like naked wood, then painted wood, then naked wood, then painted wood. And it was all flip-flopped around. So when you look, you see all these old nail holes. So the whole floor, like half the floor of the house, is recovered from another house. And she said that she doesn't remember that being changed in her lifetime. So it's just funny. The house has been, it is an amalgamation of recycled homes and to some extent.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so this house has so many weird histories that I don't know anything about.
Have we ever talked about the Winchester Mystery House on here?
No, but I know exactly what you're talking about, where the woman thought that, the souls are haunting the house, and as long as
Have
she
you ever
keeps
been
building.
there?
No, I know it's in California somewhere, right?
Yeah.
It's like near San Francisco?
Yeah, up north somewhere. I don't remember exactly. It's crazy. If you ever get the chance. Actually, when we're out there for Maker Faire, we should find it and go to it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You would love it. It's insane. There's like staircases that go nowhere, that go up to a wall.
Yeah.
There's doors that open into
His
like
widow said
three-story-
that. His widow said she was haunted by all the people that were killed by the gun.
Yeah.
And so as part of her penance, she had to keep rebuilding the house.
And she
She was
had
trying to confuse them.
right. Yeah, she was trying to confuse them, and
Oh,
she
yeah, that's
had
right.
the riches of the Winchester family. So she was like had people working on this house 24 hours a day for years and years and years. And she had like some like I don't know, spiritual guide person who or whatever who was telling her like, "Oh, you have to do this to confuse them and you have to do this." So she'd be like they'd be building a new wing to the house and she'd be like, "Okay, all the stairs have to go to the ceiling. Now stop doing that and go to this side of the house and build something over here." And it's insane, but it's really fun to walk through.
Yeah, this house
It
is
just
a
makes me
little-
think that my spirit is just going to be dumb and not be able to figure things out. Nope, there's no problem solving skills in the afterlife.
Why don't
You can
these
go through
stairs go
walls.
anywhere?
You can float through walls like that. That makes no sense.
If we've learned anything from Scooby-Doo, it's
Yeah, you can float through walls, and it's always the owner of the town or the mayor. It's always Scooby-Doo.
Old Man Carruthers.
That's
Cool.
hilarious.
Well, what are we talking about this week? Unless we could just talk about the Winchester Mystery House, but
No, I think we were going
Well,
to look back and then look forward, right?
sure.
Yeah. So, anybody have any good tales of looking back to 2015, and what have we learned in 2015?
I have a couple things. I teased a lot about making a getting started in welding video because I welded for the first time in 2015.
Nice.
But I only did that one test piece, and I never done anything since. But now I have the knowledge, the fear is gone, and I have the tools to do so. I just need to do it.
Yeah.
So there's that. I made a guitar a couple months ago, and I learned that when you make your first guitar, you're going to run into a couple things that are unexpected. And now for the next one, I know better. I know how to prepare for that.
What were some of the problems you have? Did you have a problem with the tuning frets and that whatnot?
It's let's see. One of the things was it's not obvious at first, but you have to ground the pickups to the bridge.
You got to hum.
And I had it all put together, and I'm like, where does this wire go? And I'm like, it has to go
cut it
there.
off.
Who cares?
There's some tricks that you got to do. Depending on the neck that you get, some necks are supposed to be set at a slight angle, and some are not. And so to get that pocket correct, you got to do some tricks. And the biggest mistake I made with the guitar was I routed like a thin groove for all the wiring to go into the guitar. And then that's covered with the pick guard. And so all the wiring is held to the pick guard with the volume and tone knobs, right? Well, I realized that I routed the grooves so thin for the wire. Before you put the pick guard on, all the wires fit in there perfectly fine. But once you get it mounted to the pick guard, it's hard to kind of maneuver everything and get it into those slots.
Yeah.
So I realized next time I need to make those grooves really wide.
Or give
That way it's
yourself
not
more
really hard
wire to
put-
bunch in the holes.
Yeah. And so that was fun. And I'm actually going to do another one. I've been promising that for a long time, but it actually is in the immediate plans. I was hoping to paint that guitar, but now the weather's cold, and I got to wait till spring before I can paint it. I learned a little bit about home construction, or at least building interior walls. I learned that I never want to do it again, but I'm glad I picked up the knowledge because I have a new appreciation for that. And I learned, and then I ran into a wiring problem with that. And my buddy came over. He showed me some tricks to do to test some things. And he was like purposely blowing the circuit to see if things were working. And I was like, oh, that's a cool trick. So it's just little things here and there, some paper making things that I'm hoping to maybe all these new little things I learned will find their way into future videos, except for the home construction ones. Those are not going to be in any videos. And I think I just got better on camera, better as a woodworker, better as a maker. I think there was quite a bit of improvement all around for me.
Yep. That's cool. Trying to think. Well, one of the most important things I learned is honestly, I know this is going to sound a little sappy, but it's really true. How strong this community is, and how strong it continues to become. And I learned that when we were all together at WIA, and how many people traveled from far away to come meet us. And when we looked at the overall woodworking show, how many people were there just to see us, and all sort of the old guard were like, what are all those people doing around that booth? And I said, oh, we're the YouTube woodworkers. And they're like, well, what does that mean? I said, we're like online makers that people follow and learn from. It was funny to see these old timers like kind of looking and scratching their head, and even some young timers. I say them old timers, and some guys that were, like 50s, late 40s, a couple of guys. I remember speaking to one guy I bought a tool from, and he's like, what are all those people doing over there? I said, where are the YouTube woodworkers? And you're selling products. Like, this guy was selling really good products, and I don't want to say the name because I don't want him to hear it and be, insulted. But I was like, dude, you're like selling one of the hottest products right now. You don't even know like what's going on in YouTube. What's wrong with you? I mean, you could be selling more. I mean, and he is selling more because me and a few other people use his tools on camera. But he didn't even get it. I was like, I can't believe like you're not up to speed yet. But it's kind of that era where people are like, oh well, I don't watch YouTube. Like years ago, remember people like, well, I don't really have email. It's going to be a matter of time before everybody's on YouTube. And so, just seeing the growth of YouTube and its importance, and as far as one thing I learned, definitely
that was a highlight of my year.
Right, wasn't it?
If we were going to talk about our favorite moments of the year. But WIA, when we were all there together, and our booth was the most booming booth. Yeah. And there was a bunch of other YouTubers there too. That was insane. It was hard to comprehend how many people were at our booth the entire weekend.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely an eye opener for me, because I'm like, I'll come, I'll check it out. And then like I'm like, oh wait, you drove here from Connecticut to come meet me? Like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Or you came here from where or wherever, or whatever. But it was so nice and rewarding to see like the things that we do and how they impact people in a positive way. And one thing I learned definitely is, I've always said it in the past, but I got on YouTube as a means to get back on TV. But now I'm certainly happy where I am. I have no ambitious plans of being on TV. If it happens passively, then I'll follow through and see if it works for me at the time that it occurs. But as of now, I'm kind of blowing off TV producers and people that are interested in getting me involved in projects. Nothing's ever panned out as of this year. Nothing's even seemed to come close to panning out. But I have had a lot of conversations, and the more I talk to these people, the more I kind of bully them around and just say, "What are you going to do for me?" It's like really the beginning of the phone call. I don't even like. I'm like, all right, well, if you want me to be on your dumb show, tell me how it's going to benefit me. And I usually don't get a call back, so maybe it's in my delivery. But but that's just because I'm totally content where I am, and that's I get a whim to make a product, and I want to make the product, and I do it, and it's just so rewarding to know that people are interested in paying attention and watching. And as far as the workshop goes, I've certainly gotten better at certain things like machining. I talked about it a little bit here already, but using the Bridgeport and using the lathe, and me making these ice picks, I've made almost 400 ice picks at this point. And I never intended to make that many on my own. I was hoping Hong Kong would pick up by now, and they're actually far from being able to take over because I saw the most recent sample. But me making 400 ice picks is make anything 400 times, and you're going to be like, hey, dummy, why didn't you do this in the first 100 round? This makes life so much easier. And so just doing a repetitive, it's fairly simple, of course, but it does have its complexities. But doing something like that over and over and over again definitely gives you more of a sharper mind to see the opportunities. When you're making something just one time, what's the smart way to approach it? And just again using machines. And I got a saw stop, so for the first time in almost 25 years, I have a brand new table saw that is just incredible and just rock solid and doesn't slow down. As fast as I push wood through it, it doesn't slow down. And so it's like going from driving like an old jalopy, and you don't realize it until you get into like a brand new car. Like, what a piece of junk you've been driving for so long. And that's exactly the experience I had with my saw stop. So I'm really appreciative of that, and that's something I learned. It's like, maybe even though it was obviously a gift from them, but treat myself more often is one thing I learned. Like, if something's feeling a little bit jittery and a little bit slow, treat yourself. I had this conversation with a friend recently who like really penny pinches. I said, treat yourself. You're doing this for a living, and just treat yourself. Don't feel guilty about spending $1,000 on a tool because you need it. You need it. It's not like you're spending $1,000 on, a dinner that's going to be a passing fad. This is something that's going to live and last with you forever. So that's another thing.
All I can think about is Tom from Parks and Rec.
Treat yourself.
Yeah.
Is he the perfume guy?
Yes. Tom Haverford.
Treat yourself. No, it's true. A lot of people will go through life going, oh, this is, I've had this for 30 years. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a piece of garbage. Just go buy a new one. It's only like $60 at Harbor Freight or whatever the hell it might be. And I learned going to Harbor Freight with $1,000 is always fun because you leave with so many tools. I did the math this week. I swear to God, I'm going to tell you the truth. I have my ice pick batch up here, and my next round of ice picks is just nearly done. I only need to engrave the logo in them. But I had most of them up here, and I needed a buffing wheel. The buffing wheel I have up here is inadequate. Every time I stick something into it, it slows down, and it drives me crazy. And the local guy over here who sells horseshoe supplies is somebody I always go and poke around. And he has a Baldor. It's called Baldor, is a brand of buffing. They make machines, but they make motors. But a Baldor buffing wheel, he has it for $700. And every time I see it, I'm like, God, I wish I had that. It's big. It takes like a 12-inch buffing disc, but it's the type of thing that, it'll never slow down. So I thought to myself last week, I was like, you know what? Let me go and buy that Baldor buffing wheel from that guy. It's $700. It's the end of the year. I got to drum up some tax write-offs. And then I was laying in bed and I was like, you know what? If I had $700 to spend at Home Depot, if I had $700 to spend at Harbor Freight, what could I get? So I opened up the computer and they have a buffing wheel that's comparable for like $100. So I went to Harbor Freight in Albany and I spent $800 and I got 2 buffing wheels. I got tons of like hand tools. I got the 12-inch disc sander, David, that you have. And I bought a bunch of things. It all added up. And then because I actually had my Insider Track Club with me, my Insider Track card with me. Is it Insider Track Club? I forget what it's called.
I don't know.
It's the Harbor Freight like Insider Club. I had my card with me, so I got some more discounts. So at the end of the day, I left with it, and I bought like boxes of bolts, boxes of O-rings, all these things that you like don't know you need until you need them. All from my upstate shop. So I'm equipping my upstate shop so I could handle more things up here. And so treat yourself was another thing I learned. I wanted to get a laser this year, but I did not get one because I just have nowhere to put it. So I did not push anybody to give me one for free or, even promote the idea because I have nowhere to put it. I'd have to put it in my apartment, considering it's like sort of a delicate piece, and I don't want it to be in my workshop where it floods and gets musty and sawdusty.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
So I'm going to wait on that till I have a better facility. And I learned that I have a tremendous amount of fans that support me on my stupid resin cast doll. So thank you all for that. That made it under the wire at the last minute. I really didn't think that was going to work. I was kind of half in, half out as far as my faith on that whole project. But the dolls are actually getting done, and Carlos sent me a sample the other day. That's why I showed a picture.
Action figures. I'm sorry, they're action figures.
They're resin cast. They're resin cast. They're like and they're little resin cast figures, about 12 inches tall. Yeah, the action figure, to make an action figure would be way too expensive because that's all articulated, injection molded PVC parts. So this is a resin cast. So that's still happening, and I just I'm just grateful for this year, and I've grown considerably as far as like my client list goes because in the beginning of the year I was doing more installations and like closet built-ins and these type of things, which are really difficult to deal with. Your car gets a ticket in front of the building while you're waiting to go up and get your tools. This kind of stuff Dave and I always joke around about. I do less and less of that, which I'm grateful for because I'm getting paid well to do branding stuff. And my videos are actually making me some money now for the first time. So it's been a good year. It's been like a real good transitional year. And I put on a lot of new subscribers, a lot of views. So it just keeps growing. So I've rambled enough. Bob, your turn to ramble.
My turn to ramble. Yeah, I mean, I've learned a huge amount of stuff this year, and I guess I'm kind of where you were this time last year, David, as far as making the jump to full time, and like being in your first year, just figuring it out. So yeah, I'm constantly learning stuff, and so I think I could talk for a really long time about all of that, but I won't do that. I have learned that there are a lot more ups and downs to this business than I was expecting. A lot more kind of emotional ups and downs and financial ups and downs and motivation. I mean, like I stay pretty motivated as a person, but I have found more than I expected that there are some times where I'm just like, I'm not sure that I want to do this today or this week or this month. Like, so that's been an interesting thing to kind of fight through and, just be hit with it and not realize that it was coming. The big thing I think that I've learned, and it's really been in the last month or two, but I look back over the year and see how it affects or has affected a lot of stuff over this last year, is just like measuring expectation has been a thing that I've realized and I'm trying to do more of on a regular basis, because I realized that everybody watching, everybody involved, everybody I know has an expectation of what I do. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's whatever. I have an expectation of what I do. My wife has an expectation of what I do and what I'm going to be able to produce, all that stuff. And I think the tendency is to try to meet everybody's expectations, whether you're like sure about it or not. And whether you realize that you're trying to do it or not, is you want to try to meet people's expectations, but you can't. And so now I'm trying to realize where those points are, where it's somebody else's expectations that I'm trying to meet, and trying to like push those away. And so for like the comments I was talking about, where somebody says, I wish you would do more of this.
Yeah.
That's them expecting my channel to be something that they want.
You know what someone said to me just the other day? They go, I put up a video where I made like this bicycle thing for my friend, and someone's like, get back to your old videos where you make cool stuff. Last week I made 6 chess pieces from scratch.
Yeah.
And before that I made it, so I just deleted the guy's comment. I didn't even comment. I'm like, what the hell, what aren't you watching? So you can't put much faith in what people are saying.
Well, and it's like valid, I guess, for them to say the thing, but that doesn't make it like okay or necessary for us to try to meet their expectation.
Yeah, you can
I
just
understand
delete their comment. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, if somebody like I used to watch TV shows because I thought they were good TV. Heroes. Do you guys ever watch Heroes?
No, but I know what
I watched
it is.
Heroes. The first few episodes were awesome, and I was like, this is a good superhero show. And then it went off the deep end and got really awful. But my expectation was that it was going to continue to be a certain thing for a certain amount of time. Lost is another good example of that. But but it just, it's not, that's my expectation. Those people who are creating that thing can make it into whatever they want. So I'm learning that I have to be a little bit more guarded about like how I'm taking in outside input and measure whether it's just what they expect or whether it's actually something to do with me or, what I'm trying to create or whatever. And honestly, that's a little freeing. I'm learning that as well. When you let go of like trying to meet other people's stuff, then you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to worry about that. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
And, just don't forget you got here because you were doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a whole body of work. You got to remember to look back at the whole body of work.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Like that.
And then these little moments in time are just, it's part of the ebb and flow. You might look back at something and say, what the hell was I thinking? Why did I do that? But you know what? Right next to that is one of your proudest videos. So it's the whole body of work you got to really assess and not moment by moment.
Yeah. So I'm learning a whole lot, and I think I still have a lot to learn about that. But that's been pretty eye-opening and helpful for me. Like David, I've gotten to learn some welding a little bit. I'm not very good at it yet, but that's been really cool. I feel like I'm moving into a different, whole different realm of stuff. And then it's funny because I go back and watch some of your old stuff, Jimmy, just the older videos that I hadn't seen in a while. Mm-hmm. And at the time when I watched the metalworking, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I wish I could do that someday. And now I still can't do it, but I still have a different appreciation for what it is, because now I understand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool, just because learning a little bit of something has opened up how I look at things. And that's pretty neat. And so I'm hoping that, like with my electronics videos and stuff that I'm trying to do, I'm hoping it does that for somebody else, that once they see it and then they go back and watch somebody else's video, they go, oh, okay, that makes a little bit of sense now, or, it's a little bit useful.
That reminds me of something that I always do with myself and I forget. And I'll give you an example. Like, I remember watching the motorcycle shows and seeing all these guys TIG weld. Remember when motorcycles were hot on Discovery Channel, and I would watch these guys TIG weld, and I had stick welded, and I was learning MIG welding at the time, but I wasn't using it as much. I'm talking like in the early 2000s. And I thought to myself, God, I wish that seems like such a sexy technology I want to learn how to do, because they make it look so sexy here on TV. And as time went on, like, I stopped forgetting that's what I wanted to learn. And then fast forward through the TV show that I did, and then all of a sudden I'm like making YouTube movies, and then Taylor buys me a gift to a TIG lesson, and I learned how to TIG weld, and then I bought her a TIG welder, and then we both started TIG welding. And then in time I look back and I'm like, oh wow, that happened so naturally. I forgot that was one of my ambitions 10 years ago. And like, here I am, and I'm teaching people how to do this too. So it's just so strange that these things happen all of a sudden without your consciousness.
Pretty cool. Yeah, so, I mean, I learned a lot of stuff. I think the biggest thing I learned is don't drive while holding a camera, because that will create lots of conversation for you for months.
Are you still getting comments on that?
No, not as much lately.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I joke about that, but it actually...
I would drive cross country. I'm going to hold one hand on the wheel and one hand on the camera. Make a blog, the whole thing.
Have fun with that.
I'm going to turn my comments off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I mean, I guess there is I have learned from that experience that, I do have to take into consideration a little bit more. I think the more eyes we get in front of, the more we have to be aware of what we're showing. Not that we have to change it. That's totally up to us as creators to change and decide what's valid and what's safe and all that stuff. But, I think there are some things that we do naturally that we don't even think about how it's going to be perceived to other people. And, sometimes there are things worth looking at and saying, like, is this how I want it to go out? Is this how I want things to be seen? Is this the best idea to,
But every once in a while you do something you have absolutely no idea you're going to offend, a certain percentage of people.
Yeah. I mean, you can't
holding the camera. Like, when I was just amazed that people care about that. Like,
you can't prefix problems like that for people that you don't even know who are going to have a problem with it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be like... I've talked about being gun shy in the past because of that stuff, and that's the wrong approach. That's not something I want, and that's something I think we should do. But, like safety things, like I want to reach young kids. I want them to see my videos and be inspired and want to do what I'm doing and stuff. And so I have to take into consideration that they don't have the common sense that I have all the time, or don't have, or whatever, things like that. So I've just learned to be a little more conscious of that stuff for everybody's well-being. So yeah, so that's what I got. What about next year? David, you want to start for next year?
Sure. So I've told my wife many times, like, this year was the greatest year of my life. And the previous year was the greatest year of my life. And so I'm hoping 2016 continues to be the greatest year of my life. Like, I learned so much in 2015, and I think at times I got a little lazy and I could have done more. So my goal for 2016 is to put out twice as many project videos and more tip videos. And I just want to put more effort into it. I think I got comfortable and just kind of cruised this last quarter. And next year it's pedal to the floor, and we're gonna put out some of the best stuff I've ever done. I think I'm finding where I want to be as far as like content and style. And I'm all set with tools. I bought a lot of tools this year, And this next year, I'm not going to buy hardly any tools. Because I need, in 2017, I need the banks to look at my 2016 results and say, yes, you can afford to buy a home. So this year, this coming year, I'm not spending anything, and it's all about saving money, and it's all about making money. And so I'm not gonna have, my shows aren't gonna get interrupted with new tool purchases. It's just all gonna be content. It's gonna be good. I'm gonna try to not let certain comments bother me so much, but that's hard. We all know that. And it's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year.
All right, looking forward to 2016 for me. I'm excited to put out. I'm going to try and do a little bit more bigger, better videos. Like this first one I'm doing right now it will be out in 2016. Is this knife I'm working on? I want to do kind of a little bit more like. I want to do bigger, better videos, but I'm also not going to discount the small, simple things. I mean, I still have to make small, simple stuff for and for Make Magazine. I try and do a little bit more like attainable stuff. Like this week, I'm putting out a mirror video for Make Magazine. It's just a simple round mirror, and my patrons have seen it. But it shows some really cool techniques that I wouldn't otherwise have thought about unless I decided, I'm like, you know what, let me turn the camera on for this one. I made a mirror for my neighbors. But I'm going to try and do some more grandiose videos for me, for my channel. And I want to try and bring my subscription count up so this way I could charge more money to the people that want to do product placement with me. I mean, it's kind of a little plan I was devising with a friend. And I want to do more natural product integration. I don't necessarily want to do commercials because I never feel comfortable doing them, and I don't do them well. So if I was good at it, I would do more of it, but I do it, and we were talking about this, how I and ah all the time. So I'm going to just try and continue to make money without talking if I can. And I definitely want to get working on my building space up here. I want to work up here more often. I mean, that being said, this is the first time in 10 years I kept the house open up through till New Year's. By now, the house would have been closed since November, and I would reopen it. I reopen it typically in April. So we're up here. Obviously, the weather is permitting that. If it was 10 degrees out, I'm sure I'd be in the city. But I like to spend more time up here doing projects. So my videos will be placed up here more often, up in the country. I have a real strong term goal to move out of that shop downtown, whether it has anything to do with me moving into a new space I build or a new space I rent or a temporary housing I make up here. I really want to get out of that shop. I mean, it's been the birth of my channel, and it's given me some really great projects in the last 11 years. But I out of respect to my neighbors and the things I really want to do, like machining and bigger, like kind of more timbery type woodworking projects, I can't do it there. I want to include my cars and trucks in more of my videos and some of my more outdoorsy stuff. I just want to do more outdoor projects. And, Taylor and I have intentions of finishing up our teepee. We're going to build a teepee that we've already started. Taylor, actually, you guys can't see because the sun went down, but through the back window of my bedroom there, Taylor is out there stripping teepee poles with a draw knife right now. It's pretty. Awesome. She just tapped on the window to show me what she was doing. So we want to finish the teepee, and I definitely want to work more towards getting out of the city and more working up here in my shop up here. So, I mean, that's really my big goal. And when I mention that, people are like, can I come visit you next week before you move? That's not happening anytime soon. It's just definitely a long-term plan because I still have 3 years of a lease left on my shop in the city, and I'm going to take advantage of that and move out slowly. So, and again, I don't have much of a place to move up to up here right now. So I'm slowly putting the things I don't use as much in storage so that they're not going to be a hindrance when it's time to really move out of the city. So, and then when I move out of the city, I'll definitely keep an apartment there. If as long as I can afford it, I'll definitely be in both places. But I'd like to live a life up here more often in the rural part of the state. It's just as I get older, it's more rewarding to be up here in the open outdoors. So yeah. We'll see. And then I also don't like when sewage backs up at my feet. So
yeah,
another motivating factor, getting out of the city. And I want to follow through with that thing where I have people up here. Actually, Danny is a good close friend of mine who came up and spent a few days up here during this week, and he said to me last week, he goes, because it's the first time he experienced up here, and he thought it was real magical and nice, and he's like, look, when the spring comes, I'm going to help you. Let's figure out one weekend where we invite like 10 people up here to at least just have a meeting of the minds to just hang out and, sit around the table and talk and sit around the fire and eat and drink and have good conversation and try and come up with a plan for something. So that's going to be the beginning of the upstate salon, whatever it might end up becoming. We're going to try and do that in the spring.
Jimmy's hair place.
Yeah.
I hope it's a salon. I hope salon is in the name.
But you know what I mean when I say salon, because I only learned that word in the last few years. And, just a meeting of the conversation of creative, interested people learning from one another.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Well, for me this year, I have a lot. I mean, I guess we all have a lot of things we want to do, but I want to do more with my kids because getting this whole business started has been, it takes a lot. And I don't want it to get to a point to where I'm doing this new thing so much that it's taking a toll on, the time I spend with them, or that I'm thinking about work when I'm with them. And my old job was kind of throwaway in that I could walk away from it and not think about it until 9 o'clock the next morning. This is a little bit different. So
yeah, it's full time.
Yeah, full time. But so I don't want it to take away from the time with them. But I'd like to figure out how to integrate them into it more. Part of that is having a little bit bigger shop so that it's safe for them to be in there with me to do some work together. So trying to figure that out. And I want to do. I'm going to try to loosen my personal schedule next year so that the videos that I'm doing are things that I really want to do, things that I'm like motivated to do and drawn towards, rather than trying to hit a schedule and trying to fill the gaps in between the things that I really want to do. And I don't know how that's going to go. So that's going to be one of those things where I'm just going to have to try it and see. But I don't know, man. I got a whole lot of stuff that I want to try to change and try to improve this next year, and just try to continue to figure out. I mean, all this is still relatively new. So, when you say expand your shop, are you talking about closing your carport, or are you thinking about moving off the property? Most likely expanding the carport, or closing in the carport. But I don't know. I'm not sure. We're looking at that now to see if that's even feasible, because it may not really be something that's worth doing as far as cost and time and all that stuff. Yeah, we're looking at it now.
And then when you do that, all your neighbors start looking over the fence going, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Closing in the carport? But I like it open. You're like, wait, you don't own this piece of property. Shut your mouth.
I mean, it's a full carport, like a 2-car, carport. So putting up walls underneath the structure that's already there, it's already got a full roof and everything. So it wouldn't look a whole lot different. But there's a lot of concrete work that would have to be done before we could do that. So, there's like a lot of cost involved that I'm not sure if it's worthwhile. I mean, it would be nice to have more space, but it's not like I can't work in what I have by any means. It's just, and another thing I really want to do soon is get the arcade finished. And it's really
getting close now.
It's very close. Yeah. And having that out of my space, I actually moved it out into the yard to paint it a couple days ago, and just having everything out, I was like, whoa, this room is huge.
Yeah.
It's so nice. So, just having that out is going to help a lot. But I want to finish that project up. I want to finish up another long term. And I want to really take advantage of the traveling that I'm going to do this year too, because I'm doing a lot of traveling to different events and different conferences and maker fairs and stuff. And I want to make those worth the effort. I want to make those I don't know what that means exactly, but I want that traveling, that time away from my family and away from the shop to be really valuable to either to me or to whoever I'm going to be with, one or the other. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's probably, I have tons of stuff I could say about next year, but we've got a whole year to talk about that stuff. So we better get it all in.
Is always,
what do you guys?
I was going to say, happiness is always a goal of mine. I'm always trying to remove negativity and bring in more happiness into my life. And it appears that you guys have the same philosophy.
Well,
it's
yeah.
just all about quality of life for not only us, but the people that surrounds us, and trying to bring something of value to the people who watch the videos.
This week, in fact, actually, I got back to something I kind of got away from, which is just deleting negativity instead of answering it. So this week I deleted a lot of negative comments instead of coming back at them. I just hit remove comment and then just move on. And that's, that's the control we have over people that that get under our skin in that way. So try and do that more often.
Yeah.
Engage less.
Yeah. Well, I think engaging in the right places can be really beneficial for everybody involved. Yeah. Engaging in the wrong places can hurt people even if they're not involved. You know, I mean, like somebody new comes to your video and they see this negative conversation you're having with somebody, even if you're validated and like standing up for yourself, and they're like, ugh, I don't want to hear, you know? So yeah, I think that's probably a good goal for everybody is to just
and another thing I want to do for 2016 is write my name more often on things.
You should, because people probably don't know what your name is in your videos.
No, and you know, I don't think everybody's mad at me enough, so I'm going to write my name on everything.
Are there any major power tools that you own that don't have your name on it?
You know what? Listen to this. I tweeted this, and a couple of people noticed it. I lent my welder, my giant 160-pound welder, to my friend to weld up a storefront down the street, and the place got robbed on Christmas Day. And my welder, my circular saw, and one of my handheld bandsaws got stolen. My buddy Ryan had borrowed all that to use on site. He worked Christmas Day until whatever time and locked the shop up. And Christmas night, sometime between 9 o'clock at night and 7 in the morning, the place was robbed of everything. It's a major construction site, so my tools that he had borrowed and all of his tools that he had on site and several other contracted tools from different people working there were all taken. And so it's a real bummer, but I had my name on my welder. So I asked everybody in New York in a Twitter, a couple of tweets. It's like, hey, keep an eye out for my welder. If you're offered to be sold it, let me know and I'll come buy it back. Come with my crew. So we'll see. This is the first real test. Honestly, nothing of mine has ever really been stolen, you know, aside from video content. But none of my tools have ever like really been stolen. This is the first time, but it wasn't stolen directly from my shop. So that's one thing I want to make clear. It did happen on Clinton Street, but a block away in an open storefront, street level. I'm sure nobody would have stolen that welder out of the basement because it takes 2, sometimes 3 people to move it up the steps. Anyway, so somebody took that, and it's a real bummer, but Ryan is replacing it. I'm going to get a Miller 211 MIG welder in the next couple days. So.
You know, one of the good things about your shop, though, now is that you have like a sewage moat that's a deterrent for people breaking in and stealing.
Yeah, he'll break the lock and go, ew, is that real
That's
poop?
disgusting.
Is that poop? That's what everyone comes down and says. I go, is that? I go, that's exactly what you think it is. That's exactly what it looks like.
Gross. I shouldn't have taken us back there. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I love it. I live there.
I just thought of this, totally random, off topic. I apologize. Remember last week I was talking about that there was no place here to buy steel.
Yeah.
Right? There's no sheet metal.
Yeah.
Well, a guy named Tim sent me an email today, and he lives on Tybee Island, which is the beach we have here. It's about 15 minutes from where I live. And he told me of a small town that's kind of the opposite direction from where I live that has a steel place that he buys from. Yeah. So, and he told me like the guy to talk to and like how I should approach the guys in the back so that they're not grumpy. And it was really helpful. It was awesome. He said, you know, talk to them this way, be patient, and they'll get you exactly what you need.
You know how you approach everybody in the city? I just walk right up to them with a $20 bill and I stick it in their hand and I go, I'm here to deliver something. Where do I go? And they go, oh, come right here. That's right. So like I said in the past, when I walk into that lumberyard where all the grumps, I walk around handing out $5 bills to the people I actually need to speak to. But when you walk into any of these places, just, you know, in the city of 20 really gets people beyond that, like, wait, why are you tipping me? They're like, boop, okay, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
They don't even ask questions. But at $5, it's always like, wait, why you give me $5? I don't want coffee. I'm like, no, you don't understand. So
I wonder if that would work in the South. That makes like sense in New York City.
No, the South, they'd be like, why you give me 20? I don't want more than you.
I don't want your $20.
You think you owe me? In New York, it's
Jimmy Henry Hill Diresta.
It works wonders. Because the other day, my buddy from Kentucky was here, and we had to deliver that room that I made up into this Midtown office building. So I get there a few minutes after him, and he goes, "The guy here at the loading dock is a real, you know what?" Because he's already grumpy. I go, "Well, did you walk in with a $20 bill in your hand?" He goes, "No." I go, "Oh, it's too late." I go, now he's got the upper hand. I go, if you walk in with a $20 bill and just stick it right in his top pocket and then start talking, then you have the upper hand and he'll do whatever you want. Because he might think he's even going to get another one. But now you're going to give it to him to try and win him over. It's too late. You have to win him over before he says anything.
That's crazy. That's totally out of a movie.
Yeah, and then he wouldn't let us pull the car into the loading dock. That was the problem. We had to walk it all in from the sidewalk. But anyway, so another talking back about the metal place, another really good place to get metal, which many people don't mention, is Tractor Supply. They have a really good supply of metal rack that's always stocked, as opposed to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's where it sometimes looks picked apart. A metal rack in a Tractor Supply, in all the ones I've ever looked in, always seem pretty full. So.
Yeah, we don't have Tractor Supply here either. Oddly enough, it seems like we should, but
yeah, no, they're in a lot of rural areas. You'd be surprised. I mean, if you Google it, it's probably within striking distance. But yeah, Dave.
Yeah, Jimmy, have you ever heard the story of Steve Wozniak from Apple, who would get a whole bunch of $2 bills and then glue the ends to make like a little tear pad?
Oh yeah,
and then he would tip people. He would like tear off these $2 bills and tip them with that.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people in New York. I've seen a couple of people in New York do that. They actually they take a brand new stack of 10s or 20s or 5s and then glue the edge with jade glue. It works like a pad. Yeah. My friends, somebody I know did that once. And that's what he would give out to kids for Christmas. He'd give them all a $100 pack of like a pad, but it was real $1 bills in a $100 pack.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
cool. Well, you guys want to talk about our last what we're watching for the year?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So for me, there's a 4-part series by Crimson Custom Guitars on building a cigar box guitar.
Oh, everybody wants to make one of those.
Yeah. And this channel is really good. I may have talked about it before. It's a guitar making channel, but there's all kinds of great woodworking tips on there too. And this cigar box guitar part 1 came out on December 26th. So check that out.
Right on. I'm going to talk about a video that a lot of people seem to have watched in the last week from Purgatory Ironworks. The young man that runs a channel. I'm looking for his name. It's in an email. He's got a kind of an odd name. Anyway, I can't find it. But he put up a thing talking about 9/11, how metal melts and gets soft at about 1,500 degrees. And he talks a little bit about the jet fuel conspiracy argument. He doesn't seem to take a political stance, but he just wants to prove one point, that metal gets soft when it gets red hot. And when I was watching the buildings burn that day in 2011, whenever that was, 2001, September 11, 2001, which seems like yesterday, but now it's been so many years ago, 15 years ago. I sat there and I leaned over to my girlfriend when we were standing on the street. I was like, those buildings are going to start to list. The metal's going to get hot. And the metal's going to droop, and the buildings will probably kind of tilt, and then they're going to have to take them down. And then, of course I was wrong. They completely fell down because of that same circumstance. The metal got hot, whatever you believe, but the buildings fell down. And so he proves that point in this video. But the one thing I think that's cool, he's a little channel puttering along. He's got, I don't know, let me see. He's got about 20,000 subscribers, 22,000 subscribers. And in the last week, he got one video with 7 to 8 million views. Because, obviously what he's talking about is slightly controversial. But I've had a couple conversations with some YouTubers, and I always said, hey, all it takes is one of your videos to go viral, and then all of a sudden you're on the map. So don't, even though a lot of people think this is a racehorse, it's a wild card for any particular one of us. So anyway, take a look. It's just funny how a channel could blow up over one video.
Awesome. So I guess you could expect this, but my recommendation is Star Wars. If you haven't seen Star Wars, go see Star Wars. It's so good.
What is that? Star Wars? What is that about?
Can I spell it for you? It's fantastic. I mean, obviously, if you don't like Star Wars, you may not like it, but whatever. If you do, then you're going to love it. Or if you even just like movies, because it's just a really well put together movie. But
Monday. We're going Monday.
Nice. My actual recommendation, though, is based on that, but it's a Tested video. We've all talked about Tested before, and they have some great stuff. But there's a scene in the movie that doesn't spoil anything, but it's a stop motion scene. So in the original Star Wars, there was a little stop motion scene of these monsters playing chess, or like a chessboard with monsters on it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And that was done by Phil Tippett way back then. Well, they recreated that, but they did it, instead of doing it digitally, they did stop motion to recreate a sequence like that. And so Tested has a video about the behind the scenes process for how they made this little thing. And it's all, these really awesome characters that were made with armatures on the inside so they can do stop motion. And So the video just goes through the process of making the actual figures that are the characters that are used, and then the filming process. I think there's actually 2 videos now that I think about it. But if you're interested in any of that type of stuff, it's pretty cool to watch. And Tested has great quality videos anyway, but this one is particularly interesting because it's about mold making and casting, and then also just about the stop motion. So good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Any big New Year's plans for you guys?
None yet.
I'm just chilling up at the house by then. I'm going to have some friends here, but they'll be gone. So just going to be Taylor and I here, New Year's Eve, just relaxing. That's it.
Cool. Yeah, nothing here either.
You?
No,
Nothing.
I got kids.
We'll Skype. We'll get up. We'll all Skype.
Yeah, we'll be able. No one's going to be partying, so it's going to be fine.
True. Hey guys, look, it's midnight. All right, I'm going to bed. See you later.
See ya. Yeah. What time is it there?
Cool. Well, before we go, I want to say thanks to Luis Gonzalez, Nicholas Gomez, Chris Kopp, and I lost the list again. Jeremy White. Why don't I remember?
Thank you guys for 2015 and all the support. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody from Patreon, just for supporting us this year. This is actually our second year of doing the podcast. I mean, not our full year, but we're in our second year, which is crazy. And so we're about to start our third, which is amazing. And that's possible because of the Patreon supporters. So
thank you.
Very grateful to you guys. And we wish everybody a happy new year and a safe new year. We'll see you next year.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Here's to a great 2016.
Absolutely.
Blink. That's a glass metaphor.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I'm going to click my Dunkin' Donuts cup against the mic. Did you hear that?
All right, here's my keys. That's all I got. Happy New Year, guys.
Bye.
I love you guys.
I love you.
I wanted to beat Jimmy.
1, 2, 3, stop.